Hello, everyone, and welcome to this edition of Objectively Speaking. I'm your host, Neo, and today we'll be talking about the new law that was signed into effect in Indiana by Governor Mike Pence that is listed as religious freedom. Now, me personally, I think it's a crock of shit. You can agree with me, you can not agree with me, that's fine, but that's just my personal belief. However, there are two sides to this argument, as with everything else, and I'm going to try to bring both sides of these arguments into focus a little bit and figure out where the line is. So let's start with the right. The right is saying that this is a religious freedom bill, and that their main argument is that there are 21 other states that have a similar bill or the same bill in law in those particular states. Well, this is an inaccurate statement at best. The other 21 states in question do have laws that protect against the LGBT community. It's under orientation. So that means that in those particular states, you cannot discriminate against people based on their orientation. Well, you already can't discriminate against somebody, like say if you're hiring someone, you cannot discriminate against them because they are black or Hawaiian, or because they're from South Carolina, or because they're a woman, or anything like that. You know, there's these basic classes that are protected: race, religion, creed, ethnicity, sex meaning gender, not orientation, gender, and age. Those are the main ones that you can't discriminate against somebody. You know, there are job requirements that say, you know, if you're 85 years old and you're trying to have a job doing manual labor, that might not be the best fit for you. So there are laws that protect against that, and as a general rule, you can't discriminate against a protected class. And again, those 21 states, orientation is a protected class. So there's a little bit of misrepresentation that's going on there. The second flaw that I've found on the argument from the right is mostly in I've seen a few political cartoons and lots of comments and references to certain things about. It's essentially it's no different. The bill in Indiana is no different than if someone were to walk into a black-owned shop, a shop that was owned by a black man. Let's say it was a T-shirt shop. That's a popular one. Two dudes dressed in KKK robes walk into a black-owned T-shirt shop and want to print KKK T-shirts. Okay. First off, the KKK technically is not a protected class. They're a group of people, but they are not a protected class. Now, that's not to say that the business owner doesn't have the right to refuse service, because there are a lot of businesses that have signs posted that say, we reserve the right to refuse service to anyone. Sorry, I got a little tongue-tied there. Now, that's not discrimination, that's just good business sense. So another example that I have found is that there are a group of Nazis that go into a Jewish-owned restaurant and are asking them, I'm mixing up two different articles here. If a bunch of Nazis wanted to go into a Jewish-owned T-shirt shop and have swastikas printed out on T-shirts. So, those are the two biggest ones that I've seen. And the problem with that is that they're comparing that to the baker. I don't remember where the bakery was or any of that. I just remember reading a story about a baker who refused to bake a cake for a gay couple. Now, I love that these people are trying to compare the KKK and the Third Reich to two individuals who just want to get married. Now, the reason I love it so much is because it's so hilariously stupid. The reason it is so stupid is because, A, the KKK and the Nazis going into a black-owned or a Jewish-owned T-shirt shop, respectively, is not a religious difference. It is an ethical, a moral difference. If I was, let's say that I'm Jewish, and I had a bunch of Nazi Party members come into my store and say, hey, we want authentic Nazi uniforms and swastikas on T-shirts, I would refuse them service, not because I'm Jewish, but because I have a moral duty to refuse these people. Now, even a non-Jew would probably want to not do that. However, a Nazi going into a Jewish store is just just wrong. I mean, you're essentially slapping them in the face. I mean, the Jews were persecuted by the Nazis. They killed 6 million. I mean, come on. That's just wrong. And it's the same with the KKK going into a black-owned t-shirt shop. Why would you even do that? If I'm a black guy and I'm refusing service to KKK members, it's not because I have a religious obligation to not serve KKK members. I have an ethical problem with it because they are anti-black. Well, they're anti-anything that's not white, but specifically anti-black. So, there's really no religious reason to refuse service to them. So that's one thing that I think is funny. Another thing that I think is funny is that they're trying to compare these two groups to a couple that just want to get married. Now, these two groups are hate groups. They spew hatred. They instill violent thoughts into young people, and they promote chaos and anarchy and death to anything that's not like them. So how are you going to compare two hate-mongering groups to a couple who want to get married? Marriage is a symbol of love. A wedding cake is a symbol of love and dedication to someone that you're going to spend the rest of your life with. I mean, come on, how are you going to compare something that symbolizes love and freedom and, compassion to two groups of people who do nothing but promote violence and hatred and death? You're really going to try to legitimately compare those two? No, just shut up and stop talking. So, again, that's just my opinion, but those are the things that I found wrong with that. Now, there is another problem on the left side of this argument that I can kind of see biting some people in the ass. Though I do support the gay community, the whole boycott Indiana thing might not be the best idea. I understand wanting to make your voice heard and organizing protests and so on. That I am perfectly fine with. I actually would encourage that. But like I don't remember if it's the governor, the mayor, or whatever, in Seattle was saying that anybody that has any government-oriented work should not go to Indiana. That will not be paid for by the city. At least I think that's what it was. I don't remember exactly what the article said, but essentially he was saying, if you're a government employee, don't go to Indiana. There's a lot of celebrities that are saying, with the hashtag boycott Indiana, that are saying, stay away from Indiana. If you're not from there, don't go there. Don't promote the business there. Don't do anything there. The biggest one that I found was George Takei. Now, as much as I love you, George, I really do. Again, the boycott Indiana as a whole is really kind of a bad idea because there are a lot of people in Indiana that have already organized protests within their own state. Business owners, store owners, mall owners, just normal average citizens that are taking to the streets and telling the governor that what he did was wrong. That to me is enough. That shows me that, okay, well, it's not a statewide thing. It just means that there's a few people in the legislature that are idiots and that just want to, discriminate against the gay community. I'm sorry, 30 people don't represent 5 million. I don't know if that's how many people are actually in Indiana or not, but you get the idea. A small group of hateful people do not represent the larger group as a whole. Just like, ISIS and terrorist organizations in the Middle East don't represent Islam as a whole, and the KKK and the Nazi Party don't represent Christianity, I think, at all, but they are a perverted form of Christianity, but they don't represent Christianity as a whole. The Westboro Baptist Church does not represent Christianity as a whole. So don't let the stupid, irrational, and fearful decisions of a few people affect your actions. If you're going to go to Indiana, I would encourage tourism, but when you go there, ask your hotel staff, ask your your waiter at a restaurant. Ask your restaurant owners, ask your business owners, what do you think of the new law that has passed in this state? And if you support the gay community and they say, well, I support the gay community and I think that it's wrong, then you should frequent those places. And on the reverse of that, if they say, no, I think it's a great idea and that we should discriminate against the gay community, then you should boycott those places. Don't take it out on people who are completely innocent. That's the gist of it. Don't hate the entire state for the ramblings and the idiocy of, a few people. So that's my take on it. Make of it what you will. Again, for the record, I do support the LGBT community. I'm proud of you guys. I hope that everything works out in the end and that the law is repealed, and that if anything like this ever comes up again, that they add an amendment to make sure that orientation becomes a protected class. And I hope that happens in the entire country and not just state by state as it has been for the past few years. So if that doesn't happen, then as we always will have to do, just vote him out of office and hope that somebody that actually has a head on their shoulders comes in and takes it away. So that's it for me. This is Neo, signing off.